Well, let's come to this. The DA is calling on government to urgently address the indefinite closure of the Pretoria Deeds Office. Property practitioners were left shocked when the registrar announced it will close from yesterday. Well, the party says this is a result of the failure of the Public Works to relocate the office. It says this will have a financial impact and penalty for people busy with their transactions. Let's discuss this with the DA's Madeleine Hicklin, who joins me now to take this conversation forward. Madeleine, thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. What does this closure mean? It seems that's the notice that we received here from the Deeds Office a couple of at least days ago, that it's an indefinite closure. But what does it mean exactly?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, and good morning to all the viewers. Yes, it really is. The Deeds Office handles all the transfer and deeds registrations of all properties and developments that are taking place in the whole of South Africa. And the closure of an office of this nature is immeasurable in terms of the damage it can cause to the whole property industry, as well as to money coming into the fiscus. We received a notice yesterday. It appears to be that there has been an about-a-turn by the Rural Development, Agriculture and Land Reform Board that says that the Deeds Office will indeed move, and that the only one that will be closed, and this is the one in Pretoria. But no one actually, because the initial closure notice went out and said it will be closed indefinitely, for the very simple reason that the unions are unhappy with the move. Now, from what we understand, this move has been at least 2 years in the making. But the problem is that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, who are the leaseholders on the Merino building in Pretoria, where the Deeds Office is currently seated, have not been communicating with the Deeds Office. And the Deeds Office is due to move into a brand new building that has been built, purpose-built, not by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. And therein lies the rub. There has been no communication, apparently, with office staff and with unions in that arena.
Yeah. With the notice you're making reference to, Madeleine, from the department, do you have reason to believe this could be damage control at this point?
Absolutely. There's no question. I think had the Department of Rural Development, Land Affairs and myself not created the fuss that we made yesterday, this notice would not have come out. It is definitely damage control. It is definitely trying to put out a fire. Communication, which is a hallmark of, unfortunately, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure.
So for those who are currently in the middle of property transactions, what does this mean for them?
If you're in the middle of a property transaction, whether you're a buyer, whether you are a seller, whether you are a property developer, if the Deeds Office closes, none of those transactions can be registered, none of the deeds can be registered, none of the transfer of property can actually take place. Title deeds can't be issued, and all the VAT that is due, and in terms of the statutes and the laws, that has to be paid over within 30 days of a property being registered, none of that money can be transferred into the fiscus. So the VAT implications, the financial implications for the state are immense. You are talking not about a couple of rand, you are talking about hundreds of millions of rands that could potentially be delayed coming into the state. But it can leave millions of people literally dangling. People who now can't move out, and people who have bought homes now can't move in because their properties are not registered.
So with that being said, what's the appeal right now to the Deeds Office as opposed to the Department of Public Works, the Department of, Land Reform or Rural Development? Do we wait and see that the opening, I think the date given here is the 16th or 17th of April. Is it a wait game now in terms of let's wait and see what happens?
Well, we have been given an assurance that the Pretoria Deeds Office in itself will open on the 17th of April. I do have to tell you that the Pretoria Property Association lawyers has as much faith in that as they have in it snowing in Pretoria tomorrow morning. And that, unfortunately, is the feeling that is right the way through the whole industry. Nobody has any faith that actually be adhered to. And once you have a trust deficit of that magnitude, that is where your problem lies. They are saying that there are going to be other deeds offices around the country that are open, and people mustn't worry. But unfortunately, when you have a trust, the damage is already done. But the is that trust deficits are immense. Apologies for that. Trust deficits are immense to try and break. I don't believe that it is something that you can wait and see. I think what has to happen is that we have to demand, as the South African public, and it's something that the Democratic Alliance is going to demand straight away, is that Minister Zikalala of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and Minister Didiza of the Agriculture, Rural Development and Land Affairs stick to deadlines that they give us. I also demand that we have an investigation as to find out why such an immense problem was allowed to arise in the first place. We have to, as South African citizens, a government we can rely on to make a statement, stick to that statement, and more importantly, stick to provisions of acts such as the Government Immovable Asset Management Act that determines that provisions within the acts are met by all user departments and by the real estate management services, which is part of the Department of Public Works, to facilitate things that are the Government Immovable Asset Management Act, GIAMO, which rules the way in which public works works.
Right.